Tonight on our news, the 18 counts of manslaughter 4 men are facing following Sunday's failed suspected human smuggling attempt. Plus, the parents of 4-year-old Kenton Seymour Jr. want justice. Find out the charges now before the court. And aspiring basketball players meet an NBA legend. Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. I'm Christina Dragovich. 4 men were charged with 18 counts of manslaughter following Sunday's deadly boating incident. Our Bethany McDermott was in court and tells us one of the men alleges he wasn't given the opportunity to call his family or consult a lawyer. Here's his report.
53-year-old Mackenzie Jerome, 39-year-old Donald Watson, 49-year-old Eulin McKinney, and 37-year-old Wilbert Joseph were charged with 18 counts of manslaughter. Prosecutors allege that on July 24, 2022, the men killed 16 females, a male fetus, and a man while in Bahamian waters. The men were charged after the victims perished during what officials allege was a failed attempt to smuggle the group into Miami, Florida on Sunday morning. Watson and McKinney were also hit with a charge of reckless operation of a craft and craft operators to be licensed. It's alleged that on the same date, the duo operated the Bear Ambition vessel in a willful and reckless manner with disregard for passengers on board, while failing to possess a valid license issued by the competent authority. Following the arraignment, Jerome told Chief Magistrate Joyanne Ferguson Pratt that he was not allowed to call a relative or consult an attorney once police arrested him. He further alleges that $45,000 was counted in front of him by police that was taken from his home. However, he says the money should have amounted to $90,000. He alleges the money came from the sale of a boat and trailer which he recently sold. Now, the men were not required to enter a plea and are remanded to the Bahamas Department of Corrections until October 28th. That's when they will return to court for service of a voluntary bill of indictment. Reporting for Our News, I'm Bethany McDermott.
And police and the Royal Bahamas Defense Force are probing another boating tragedy last night, this time in waters off Andros. According to reports, 3 Bahamian men left South Andros around 10 p.m. on an aluminum fishing vessel, the Molly, en route to New Providence, when engine problems and inclement weather caused the vessel to capsize. Police say a man's body was recovered, 1 man is missing, and a 3rd man was rescued by another fisherman. Captain Glenn McPhee of the Royal Bahamas Defense Force giving an update on the search efforts.
All of our assets are now involved in this search and rescue efforts. We have also engaged the assistance of the U.S. Coast Guard, who provide us with analysis and information data that we can interpret to determine the best search areas that we will target. But we are deliberately focusing our efforts with all of our aerial and naval assets, as well as our drones we're employing at this time.
Meanwhile, investigations continue into the failed suspected human smuggling incident last Sunday. Leaders from key agencies giving an update at the Office of the Prime Minister's weekly press briefing. Our Italia Hall was there.
The police commissioner revealing that they are now investigating what they believe is a major smuggling operation. His comment comes days after 17 people died during an alleged failed smuggling ring. The commissioner says one of the victims was pregnant.
Some of the victims had came in from the various family islands, so you could see that connection in there. The investigation continue into this matter because we believe that there is some more individuals involved.
Director of Immigration Keturah Ferguson says 2 of the people involved in the tragedy had no status in the Bahamas, and that's not all.
Others came in as visitors. Some have overstayed their time, some still have legal time. And others, even though they claim to have time, we were not able to find them in our database.
Now the managing director of the Public Hospitals Authority, Auburnet Roll, confirming that there are 17 bodies currently in the morgue at the Princess Margaret Hospital, 5 of which she says have been identified.
From that, the one male out of the 17 has been officially identified. 1 toddler that we can now say is 1 year old. That's the female. We can also say a female teenager at the age of 13. and then the other 2 adult females.
And as for the survivors who suffered severe illnesses and injuries due to the tragedy,
all 3 of those live persons have been discharged.
Reporting for our news, I'm Atalia Hall.
Thanks, Atalia. Here's our Greg Thompson in the Weather Center with our first look at the forecast. Greg?
Thanks, Christina, and welcome everybody for our first look at weather on this, last Friday of July and last couple of days of the month, actually. It's pretty nice outside. Slightly warmer temperatures in the mid-80s, 86 under mostly clear skies. We still have a few patchy clouds out there, but we'll call it mostly clear right now. Still a breezy conditions out there. Easterly winds at 15 miles per hour. And your feels like temperature, very warm, 91 degrees. Satellite view, upper level trough or upper level low that's been spinning across us, now moving into the eastern Gulf of Mexico, but it's bringing or wrapping around some moisture on the backside of that, moving across the central and southeast Bahamas. Couple of isolated showers associated with the system as it continues to move towards the west. Even Andros getting a couple of showers early today, but we'll continue to see an improving conditions as this low moves out into the Gulf of Mexico and quieter weather expected for the weekend. That's your first look at weather. Your extended forecast is still to come.
Still to come on our news, we just want justice. The parents of 4-year-old Kenton Seymour Jr. speak out. Find out the charges one suspect now faces. Plus, the clock's still ticking. The teachers union chief putting members on alert for industrial action. Plus, an NBA legend stopping by a local basketball camp to speak to aspiring players. Stay with us. A suspect is expected to be charged in the death of 4-year-old Kenton Seymour Jr. Police Commissioner Clayton Fernander giving an update on the case this morning.
I'm happy to say this morning that we have an individual who is in custody, and he is expected to be charged early next week. Investigators are still on the ground, and we are moving forward.
The police commissioner also giving an update on 2 other recent murders, saying suspects have also been nabbed in those cases and will appear before the court soon.
The matter at Peter Street happened just a week and a half or so. We also have an adult male in custody who is assisting with the investigation, and he too should be charged next week. And the third matter, which occurred in Pinewood Garden, where the individual who was shot by his partner. One of the individuals in that turned himself in. This is after information was put on the ground with respect to the individuals, and he turned himself in. So he is also assisting within that investigation.
Meanwhile, the family of 4-year-old Kenton Seymour Jr. is revealing more about the deadly events leading up to him taking his last breaths in his mother's arms. Arjeen Joseph spoke with the young couple as they remember those final moments before they lost their only child as the family went for ice cream earlier this week.
When I got pregnant with that little boy, I cried so much. Not knowing I was crying because 4 years later they can take my baby from me.
Norma Smith and Kenton Seymour are grieving the death of their only child. The 4-year-old was fatally shot on Tuesday night, leaving relatives to wonder how the life of a fun-loving child who loved Junkanoo could be cut short. His parents say the tragedy occurred as they were going for ice cream like they usually do.
We had about 3 shots. We didn't know where the shot was coming in, so I tell his daddy, I say, speed. It was so black you can't see nothing. All I know is when the bullet come through the front glass, through the windshield on his daddy's side. So we ducked down. When I get back up, I just thinking my baby's just still ducking down. Until his dad say, Norma, check papi, check papi. When I look at my baby was full of blood. So we just speed off and gone to the hospital, and Lord, I pray like I never prayed before.
Medical personnel confirmed the worst soon after their arrival at the hospital. Days later, Kenton Sr. is still in disbelief, saying he is hopeful his son will somehow find his way back home.
I was continuing to say to myself, my son is not dead, he is coming home one day, because that's the only thing I believe.
The family is also hopeful about the outcome of the investigations as they try to come to terms with their loss and begin the healing process ahead.
I just leave it up to God, just to bring these people to justice that cut my son's life so short. He really loved life.
He didn't deserve this.
Every day there was a smile on his face, every day.
Every day.
The grieving mother sends this message to the person who took her child's life.
God is real. And if you don't turn yourself in and turn from your wicked ways, I feel sorry for you.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Gene Joseph.
Thanks, Gene. In other news, Bahamas Union of Teachers President Belinda Wilson putting BUT members on notice for industrial action at the start of the new academic year in September. Wilson says there's still no resolution to outstanding issues after years of negotiations. Jamila Missick reports.
We are ready for action. We will take action if the government does not sign off on our full industrial agreement. And let me say this too. It's not a promise. It's not a threat. It is something that we will follow through with.
That's President of the Bahamas Union of Teachers Belinda Wilson insisting the clock is ticking as the BUT waits to sign off on a new industrial agreement. She made the comments while appearing as a guest on RTV's On the Record on Thursday night. Wilson says the union has been in negotiations from May 25, 2019, and the previous agreement expired June 2018. The union leader says after 2 governments, 3 years, and 3 months of negotiations, they're ready to conclude their agreement.
Almost 200 pages, which deals with your terms and conditions of service, maternity leave, paternity leave, curriculum development. It deals with health and safety in the workplace, housing allowance, reassignment, and transfers of teachers, guidance counselors, librarians.
Wilson adding that it is not all about money, explaining one of the non-economic matters centers around teachers being required to attend PTA meetings.
Teachers' working hours are 8:45 to 3:15 p.m. PTA meetings are held in the evening.
Wilson adding that union members have already voted unanimously to take industrial action. However, they took into consideration examinations and report cards. In a voice note sent to her members on Thursday, Wilson urging them to get ready for action. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jamila Missick.
When Our News comes back from the break, the latest from Carnival Cruise Lines in Grand Bahama this week. Find out the status of construction and job opportunities. Plus, dozens of young Bahamians hitting public beaches soon as certified lifeguards. And later, meet the NBA legend inspiring some aspiring players. We have the details when Our News returns. This is Our News. Welcome back. Things are beginning to take shape in the second city with the Carnival Cruise Port project in East Grand Bahama. Carnival officials on the ground this week giving updates on construction and job opportunities. Our Jamila Missick has the details.
The Carnival Cruise Port project in Grand Bahama is expected to be completed late 2024. Vice President of Global Ports and Destination Development, David Candip, says the idea is to make it a gateway to Grand Bahama.
Our idea is to grow the cruise arrivals from Carnival Cruise Lines with this new port. And so with that, the idea is to share Grand Bahama, everything that has to offer, the culture of the people, the amazing sea, all of the elements that Grand Bahama has. We want to do that with an increase of our cruise arrivals, and this port allows us to do that.
He explains that over the next 2.5 years, there will be a lot of employment opportunities.
During construction phase, there will probably be several hundred people working at any given time, either through a component of the maritime contractors or the landside contractors. And that'll carry through up until about spring, summer of 2024 when we start to hire directly. But even our direct employment relative to the port and the employment opportunities there, probably about 15 or 20% of the overall employment.
The Carnival official says they've started work for dredging and construction of the cruise pier.
We need to bring in the ship safely, and in order to do that, we need to prepare for the dredging and the pier construction. And from that basis, we're going to use a lot of the great material from the dredging to elevate the land side in the areas in which we're developing the welcome center and the retail and the food and beverage. That'll take us all the way through probably April or May of 2023 when you'll start to see some of these amazing buildings, start coming out of the ground.
Reporting for our news, I'm Jamila Missick.
In sports news tonight, an NBA legend stopping by a local basketball camp to speak to aspiring players about what it takes to be successful in the game of life. Joshua Williams reports.
NBA legend Muggsy Bogues succeeded at the highest levels of his sport despite his limited stature. His determination and willpower makes him a great mentor for budding basketball players. Bogues visiting a local basketball camp to do just that.
Just being able to come back and pass it forward to the kids, letting them understand that anything is possible. If they dream and believe that they want to be a professional basketball player, that it's possible. Don't let anyone dictate or prevent you being who you want to be. And confidence is everything, and it's the key. And that's one of the messages I wanted to share with the kids.
Camp coordinator Jeff Rogers says his camp of over 30 years has impacted thousands of young boys and girls around the country. Rogers believes in the importance of not only teaching basketball skills, but also the skills of life.
We teach a lot about life. We talk a lot about how to prepare yourself, for the real world. We take them from 5-year-olds, so you have to work with them and teach them how to be disciplined, how to be consistent in what they do. So it's just what we put into it.
Anthony Ramming has attended the camp before and says he is learning a lot.
To be respectful, have manners, to play ball like really well all day, every day, and to have like build up a good personality for myself.
Reporting for our news, I'm Joshua Williams.
Thanks, Joshua. Still ahead on our news tonight, meteorologist Greg Thompson is back in the Weather Center with a look at how conditions are shaping up over this holiday weekend. Plus, we'll tell you the dozens of young Bahamians about to hit public beaches as certified lifeguards. Stay with us. Welcome back to our news. Looking forward to the long holiday weekend. Before you make those plans, Greg is back in the Weather Center with our extended forecast.
Thanks again, Christine, and welcome back, everybody, for our final look at weather on this last Friday of July and the last week of the month. Upper level low that's been spinning across the Bahamas, now moving across western Cuba. Some of that moisture associated with it wrapping around on the eastern side, bringing isolated showers and thunderstorms across the southeast and central Bahamas. The whole system will move into the Gulf of Mexico over the next 24 to 36 hours, but behind that, dry air mass will be moving in. There is another disturbance out there in the open Atlantic, but that should not pose a problem for us because at the surface, some Saharan dust will be moving in by the beginning of next week. That's going to keep things rather quiet across us. The tropics, a couple of tropical waves out there. One just approaching the northern coast of South America, another one out there well in the Atlantic. And that drier Saharan air mass is keeping things quiet for us. so tropical cyclone formation is not expected over the next 5 days. Boating forecast for all areas tonight to tomorrow. Those winds are still a bit brisk out there, easterly to east-southeast at 15 and 20 knots. They will be gusting at times, especially across the southeast Bahamas. Your seas will be running a very rough 4 to 7 feet over the ocean, and they will be higher in gusts. Your high tide will be at 9:24 tonight. Here's a look now at your national forecast. In your 7-day forecast, the weekend looking pretty nice. Gonna be a little toasty out there, but of course, Monday is the holiday. August Monday should be very nice out there. Temperatures will approach the 90-degree mark, and that Saharan dust will be moving in, so it's gonna be very warm out there. And the rest of the week looking the same. Make sure you stay hydrated and stay indoors and protect yourself from that sunlight. That's your look at weather, and enjoy your weekend.
Well, dozens of young Bahamians will soon be hitting public beaches as certified lifeguards. The initiative by the Tourism Development Corporation is set to make beaches safer for everyone. Jamila Missick reports.
It is a skill that could mean life or death for many pool and beach goers, and today the country can now boast of at least 100 new certified lifeguards through a training initiative by the Tourism Development Corporation. Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of Tourism, Investments and Aviation, John Pinder, noting that the lifeguard training is an important step for the safety of visitors.
We have to make sure that we take the safety of our visitors seriously. And these will be the people on the front lines that will help prevent what could be a serious tragedy.
CEO and Executive Director of the Tourism Development Corporation, Ian Ferguson, says the TDC will be helping with job placement as early as the end of August.
We have already engaged a number of beach resorts. Some of them have come very willingly to the table, indicating that they are desirous. We're partnered with beaches and parks. We already know that we need lifeguards on our public beaches.
The participants were taught underwater and endurance skills and participated in tows and rescue exercises. Instructor Wyatt Werniff says he's impressed with the quality of lifeguards he's been able to train.
We have lifeguards in America, and they're fine lifeguards. I retired as a lifeguard for a county in Florida, but we never had the high-ranking official in our country, which would be our president, get behind it and say we need to hire 100 lifeguards. This to me is tremendous. I'm very honored to be part of that.
Program participant 14-year-old Brianna Kerr says she's glad she decided to receive the training and make an impact at such an early age.
I think it's important that everyone has a knowledge on lifeguarding, and I also really enjoy the pool. I love water, and I think that lifeguarding was kind of meant for me.
Reporting for our news, I'm Jamila Missick.
Well, thank you for joining us for our news tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Christina Dragovich. We'll see you right back here tomorrow night. Have a beautiful evening, Bahamas.